We're losing people left and right. I think this clip I found on Tumblr sums it up best. I saw a ceiling I was familiar with. Though I was groggy from sleep, I didn't notice that I was in my futon, like I was every morning. I looked at my clock, and despite having turned in so late last night, I'd woken at precisely the same moment I did. I'm so low on sleep, but I guess you can really get up at the same time every day. The secrets of the human body never cease to amaze me. If I went back to sleep like this, I would definitely not be waking up again. I spurred myself on and slipped out of my futon. Mom asked me about it last night at breakfast. Apparently, we too had gotten a call asking if we knew where Rika and Satoko were. And Mom vaguely understood that something serious was happening. So then you were out late last night with all your friends looking for them? Until about 3, I think. Yeah. Did you find them, Rika and Satoko? I wearily bit into my toast. It didn't have any taste. Where'd it chime? I looked up at the clock, and it was about 5 minutes past my regular meeting with Rena. Her at the door. Good morning. Did you get any sleep? Did you? I think I slept for a few hours. You could probably count them on a chicken's toes. She seemed pretty sleep deprived as well. There was something missing from her usual spirit. Are you going to school? Yeah, I think we'll be better that way, she said, smiling, albeit stiffly. Rena was probably worrying her heart out about those two. Even so, she wanted to go to school. If you stay home today, I think you'll just be worrying non-stop and sleeping. I don't want that. Let's go to school together. Alright. Just give me a moment. I'll get me ready. Just a little happy about Rena rostering that much consideration. We went to the place where we usually meet up, but she was nowhere to be found. We were a bit late today, so we thought she'd be waiting for us. I guess Mi-chan couldn't wake up today. That's right. For her, it wasn't just yesterday. She was up all night looking for the mayor the night before. We waited for a bit. Time passed and it got to the point where it was okay for us to go on alone. And we exchanged glances. What do we do? Wait a little longer? At that point, my brain, which had been fully awoke by the morning air, recalled the ominous words Oishi had left with me last night. The leaders of the 3 families were disappearing one after the other. Next, it might be the Sonozaki's leader. Could Mion have... Nah, couldn't be. Let's go. We'll let her sleep for today. She gave me a pat on the back. Mion, she's still here, right? Did you say something? Just talking to myself. How about we get moving? The 2 of us headed to school by ourselves. On the way, we saw a bunch of our classmates accompanied by their parents. It even looked like some of them were being taken to school by car. Surprisingly, the principal was also standing watch at the school gate. I'd never seen that before. Good morning. Good morning, students. The principal was bowing to our classmates' guardians. The wooden sword leading next to him was a little ominous. Mayabara, good morning. Ah, Ryugu, good morning. Good morning. Your teacher has something important to say, so head straight to the classroom. Okay? We said nothing. The menace that only existed at night had finally crawled out into the sunlight. That's what it felt like. Good morning, everyone. The hushed conversations that had been spreading for a while now disappeared like an illusion the moment our teacher walked in the door. Silence dominated the classroom. The principal came in with our teacher as well. Clearly not a normal morning. First, the principal has something important to tell everyone. Mr. Principal, go ahead. I'm sure some of you have already known of this. The classroom was dead silent. Everyone was staring at the empty seats of Rika and Satoko. He briefly and simply declared that Rika and Satoko went missing. There wasn't a single person in the classroom who didn't already know. There seemed to be many, however, who just couldn't accept it as truth. It had been confirmed to them now by the principal's words. There were sobs throughout the classroom, and I heard a kid started crying. They steadily spread throughout the whole room. The big-hearted principal wasn't able to keep us cool either. Okay, everyone, pay attention. From today on, your parents or guardians will be taking you to school. For those of you whose parents can't do so, come here in groups. I made a handout, so read it carefully, and be sure to show it to your parents. Understand? The teacher's voice was a little abrasive. Not even she could conceal the strain she felt from this unprecedented, abnormal situation. They should have just canceled school today, but Renna told me school was also like a nursery for students whose parents both worked, so some of them wouldn't want school to be canceled. Well then, let's begin the lesson. Class president's absence, I see. Whoever's on day duty, let me hear it. All rise! The feeling of wanting to maintain an everyday atmosphere, even if only in school, precisely because our lives have been messed up, was something I agreed with at this point. As for the teacher who always had her lunch in the staff lounge, decided to eat in the classroom today. I had to laugh at her curry bento. Just a rumor until now, but there was nobody to laugh with me. Renna brought her chair and lunch over to my seat. It was only the two of us. The fact that we didn't need to drag any other desks over was sad enough. I'm sleepy. Same here. I don't feel like sleeping anymore, though. I'm just jealous of the people that could sleep at a time like this. They must have nerves of steel. You're right. I was sleepy this morning, but my drowsiness had dissipated after coming to school and constantly feeling the incredible tension. Renna's bento box didn't have his usual luster. It was to be expected. She was up for a long time last night. She wouldn't have had time to make her lunch beforehand. It's not like she would have gotten up early this morning just for this. Grab anything you want. Go ahead. You can admit my bento is better today. Okay, I'll have some. A chikuwa roll with para and cheese? Huh, interesting. Yours might have ready-made food in it, but it's pretty good. I realized the two of us were desperately trying to brighten the afternoon mood to its usual level as much as we could. I looked around the classroom and it seemed like we were the only ones trying to do so, surrounded as we were by gloominess. Just the two of us sharing our lunches like this. It's sort of like, you know, something. Our laughter grew quieter. I was the first one to mess up. Sorry, oh yeah, sorry. It's okay. Not your fault. Our chopsticks both stopped moving. We couldn't keep it up. Rika, Sadako, I wonder where they went. Those words might have sounded too miserable. Everyone was thinking it, using roundabout ways to address it. But I came right out and said it. I hear Rena catch her breath. Yesterday while we were gone, I heard a bunch of things. So I'll tell you what I'll know. I'm sorry about last night. Go ahead. At the time since they had arrived for support, Rena was helping the Ladies' Society cook the miso soup we had. They reported all information the villagers had gathered, and Rena said she overheard it. They didn't know anything important though, did they? Rika and Sadako went home after school and apparently went somewhere on their bikes, and other than that, Mion told me yesterday, we had no clues. Yeah, the police also said they probably went out on bikes to go play somewhere, just as soon as they got home. If they were going to play somewhere on their bikes right after getting home, they might have gotten into town. So I guess they concluded they disappeared in Okinomiya. The police were saying how they were going to expand the search to Okinomiya in the morning. In town. That makes sense why we couldn't find them even though we searched all of Hinamizawa. Something didn't easily fit. I had no basis for thinking that, just that gut feeling. I revealed something important to Rika that was very important to her that day. Then Rika told me to leave it to her. And what did she say? That if she didn't work hard, something bad might happen to the dog. With all the talk of dogs and cats, I still didn't have the faintest idea of what she really meant, but it might have been Rika's way of saying this was a race against time. Damn it, I'd selfishly pushed my anxiety on Rika and tried to run away. When I thought about it, I shouldn't have run back. I should have asked her more about dogs and cats. The more I think back on it, the more I think I really screwed up. I don't think Rika's was in a situation where she would just go off to play somewhere. I didn't have any evidence or conviction to base it on. Just a hunch. I don't think she'd go into town. You think so too, Keiichi-kun? I agree. Rika and Sadako must have disappeared here in Hinamizawa. I looked back at Rena, startled. I could hear the conviction in those words. Without replying, she took her bento box and went to the hallway. I'm gonna go rinse this out. She timed out in a way that broke off the conversation. But I got the feeling the next thing she had to say would be hard to say out loud in the classroom. I hurriedly grabbed my bento box and followed her. She didn't go to the kitchenette, but rather the water fountains out back where students seldom went. The water flowed down onto our bento boxes. During that time, Rena didn't say a word. After making sure there were no other students around, she finally opened her mouth to speak. The whole thing about Rika and Satsuko going to town to play and then disappearing, it didn't make sense for some reason. So I decided to investigate a little bit myself. So who did you ask? What did you ask him about? I asked the Ladies' Society all kinds of things. There was a lot of tofu in the miso soup yesterday, remember? The old lady from the Tomita Tofu shop came. The Tomita Tofu shop? Oh, I remember, one of the stores on the road leading to the hospital. Huge lumps of tofu dancing in the bathtub like cistern always looked nice and refreshing. The old lady says she remembers Satsuko stopping to buy tofu on her way home. Tofu? It's on the way home, so how's that a clue? Just listen. Remember when we went to Rika's house? She stepped away from the sinks and spread her arms wide to recreate the space of Rika's room. There was a pot on their gas cooker with miso soup in it. This was probably about half of it inside that pot. The rest was in the refrigerator. They must have been planning to make chilled tofu, on a plate in plastic wrap. As Ren explained, she walked around as if she were really going through Rika's room. Still, why does this matter?
Keiichi, when you make miso soup, you put tofu in last.
That means that Rika or Satoko, whoever was cooking, was standing there making it up the night before dinner time.
Right up until dinner time?
Wasn't everyone saying that if Bites weren't around, they might have gone somewhere to play by themselves?
The trash in the countertop bin was put there really awkwardly. Rika makes most of their foods and lunches, but occasionally Satoko does too. So Satoko was cooking that night.
So that means Satoko at least didn't go somewhere to play. She was probably preparing dinner, right?
Yeah. I took a look at the rice cooker. There was rice for two still in there.
So she made dinner for both of them, but neither of them ate it. That what you're telling me?
Uh-huh. I looked into the fridge. Some chilled tofu made from the other half that they bought. Not all either. There was a whole bunch of plates with side dishes for dinner, and all of them were in plastic wrap.
You usually place plastic wrap on things so you can have leftovers for the next day. Mom does it all the time too, using them for breakfast and lunch.
That's right. You use plastic wrap to save leftovers for later. So the fact that they were in the fridge means they didn't plan on eating them that night, at least.
Is that what it means?
Keiichi, think a little harder. Their dinner was untouched and wrapped. What do you think it means?
That could mean that they didn't need to eat dinner anymore. They would have gone out to eat or order takeout.
It must have been really sudden, too. If they had decided to do that beforehand, they wouldn't have made anything, but there was dinner for two of them. That means when Satoko was making dinner, they really thought they were going to eat it until right before they didn't.
So there's a theory about two of them going out to play and then disappearing. That theory is wrong.
Completely. They disappeared after making dinner, and right before they ate it. Probably about roughly 7 o'clock.
Where would they have gone at a time like that by themselves with no food?
That's obviously where this is leading. Keiichi, do you remember? On their fold-out table were things like soy sauce and a chopstick holder.
Might have been something like that. I don't remember.
The container for the soy sauce was empty. There wasn't even a drop left. Chilled tofu wouldn't taste good without it. So I looked under the sink for their larger bottle of soy sauce.
You sure know a lot about where they keep stuff.
I've been to Rika's house. I've cooked for them before.
She cleared her throat, her face returning to a serious expression.
Then when I opened up the cabinet, the big bottle of soy sauce wasn't there at all.
It wasn't there? What did that mean?
Everything I'm going to say from here is just Rena's idea. Please listen to the end without saying anything, okay? Last night, Satoko was making dinner, just like normal. Rika usually watched TV until the food was ready. She was probably lying down watching a variety show. Satoko put the tofu in the miso soup, and right when dinner was about ready, she noticed they were out of soy sauce. So Rika, who had nothing to do, bought the bigger bottle of soy sauce to a neighbor's house to borrow theirs.
I don't really know my neighbors well. Would people be willing to just give her soy sauce?
Yeah, it's not all that uncommon here in Hinamizawa. So, Rika rode her bike out to get some soy sauce. No matter how long Satoko waited, Rika probably didn't come back. So Satoko called up the house where Rika was going. Would Rika happen to be imposing on you, she would say? Something like that. And the other person must have replied with something like, we have plenty of food here, so you should come too. Rika has already eaten. I think that's how they call her out. So Satoko called Rika a few names in private and wrapped them up the dinner that she had made for them. You know, because that's how Satoko is. She can be a bit stubborn. So she put it in a fridge so she can use it for breakfast and lunch the next day. Then she got on her bike too, and would be heading to the house where Rika was. But this is already pretty strange. You don't normally make so much food that you can give it to people who suddenly arrive at your house. A veteran housewife would never make so much food that she could feed 2 extra people. Could it just been a coincidence that they made too much? It's still unthinkable. She flatly denied me. Since Rika knew that Sadako had worked really hard to make dinner for them, didn't she? No matter what kind of food she was offered, she wouldn't let Sadako's dinner go to waste, wouldn't she? This is all only circumstantial evidence and Brenna's guesswork. Even so, it was all extremely convincing. The only ray of hope we had to topple on this situation, bereft of clues. Then, where did Rika go to get soy sauce? That's the heart of it. It would have to be somewhere she is comfortable with asking for soy sauce. Somewhere Sadako wouldn't think it's suspicious that she'd be invited for dinner. So who could it be? She shook her head. That's all for Rena's guesses. These are all just ideas, okay? Keep them a secret from the police. So what is there to hide? Even if only half of what you say is right, it should be a good clue for all this. Kiji, this all means suspecting someone from here. We can't suspect anyone without good reason. Saw a few girls coming out to rinse out their bento boxes. Rena cut the conversation short there and returned to the classroom. I stayed there alone, my body bathed in the lively voices of cicadas. So let's think about this. In my own way, Brenna barely had information to go on, yet she reasoned out that much. There should be something that only I, who knew far more than Brenna did, could deduce. Oishi said this last night, but this incident was definitely occurring within Hinamizawa. Brenna might not have wanted to believe it, but it's basically a given that the culprit is someone from here. The trigger for everything was when the 4 of us trespassed into that forbidden storehouse. Somebody saw us go in there. For the culprits, breaking the taboo was a crime punishable by death. So that night, Tomotake and Takano were sacrificed. Then there were 2 left. Shion and myself. However, before the culprits bore fangs on the Shion and me, they went after the mayor to whom Shion confessed her sin. Next they went for Rika, to whom I confessed my sin. But what about Satoko? A stray bullet? By itself, Rika had been sacrificed after I told her everything was mortifying. But Sadako, who was sacrificed for no reason, wasn't that all the more regrettable? Everything might have been my fault. But who would be the next to disappear? Would it be Shion and me next time? Why weren't the culprits going for Shion and me right away? If they have enough power to erase the mayor and Rika, why not get rid of us? If they went, well, I wouldn't like it, but it would be tolerable at most. What I couldn't forgive them was getting rid of those we confessed to. Now that I think about it, yesterday Shion said something alarming, like someone was watching her. So was someone watching me as well? It was strange though, but I haven't felt anything like that until now. Even though I'm the root cause of everything, I have never once had that impression. Maybe it was simply because Shion was more cautious than me and I was just careless. But that's probably another story though. So how about we get back on track? Why weren't the culprits going after us? I feel like there's where the key is to this lay. Could it be that I was making a big assumption that I shouldn't have been? I thought and thought, but I just couldn't come up with an answer. The one thing that I understood was that I was concerned party to this case, and I had a duty to watch over it until everything got resolved. The ring and the bell declaring the end of lunch. Would somebody else disappear tonight? If nobody else did, then I want them to get rid of me tonight for sure. Put an end to all this. Shion's hysterical voice on the phone last night came back to mind. They plan to murder those close to us, make us as miserable as possible, and then kill us. Mayabara, lunch break is over. Go back to the classroom. At the principal's urging, I returned to the classroom, which was quiet as the streets at night. There was a lot of parents picking their children up after school, just like kindergarten. The students whose parents didn't come went home as a group. We left school with everyone else, following an assigned route. Even while leaving, nobody said anything funny. All looked exhausted mountaineers, silently marching through the mountains. As we went, one left and another, and in the end it was just Rena and me. I was supposed to escort Rena all the way to her house, but she declined. Well, you'll be alright, though. It's not safe to go alone. It would be just as dangerous for you to go home by yourself after bringing me back. It's still light out anyway. I'll be fine. I see. Be careful, okay? Yeah. Isn't that a policeman? Rena pointed towards my house. There was a car stopped in front of it. That looks like a weird car to me. From out of that car came Oishi. Must have been waiting for my return to ambush me. Oishi started walking over, wearing an annoying grin. Rena, you better go. If you get involved with him, you'll be here for hours. But what did the police want with you? She's a good person. Even when I make a fuss over Rika's disappearance, she never asked me why I did. She could have been suspecting me ever since then, and that would have been okay. Even so, she hasn't asked me about anything. She didn't try to pressure me into revealing the truth. I'm not the culprit. I know that. Well, that said, I can't say that I'm totally uninvolved with this incident. She simply listened, smiling like she did. Even though I insinuated I was related to the incident, she didn't look at me as though she was looking for something dirty. I might tell you next time. Okay, I'm looking forward to it. How about you get going then? She gave me a slight bow and trotted away, leaving me alone with a detective who walked over. What's up? Welcome home. What the fuck ever. Looks like your parents aren't here. My, was I in a bit of a spot. Came all this way to my house? I could only thank my good fortune that my parents were absent. Zero then was around at this hour, they would probably be back late. Something tells me Dad got caught out of business. I don't think he'd be back until later. I see. Well, that's convenient, I suppose. We can do this without giving your parents any strange ideas. He was pushing my back, prompting me to walk. Seems like he wanted me to get inside the car. Are you taking me to the police station? I wasn't the culprit, but I was the cause of everything. It'd be weird if he wanted to investigate me here. That kind of gave me a resigned feeling. I just don't want to stand around talking. We can just talk in the car, that's all. Come on, don't be shy. He opened the back door and urged me in. If I got in, I wouldn't have a very easy time getting out. If I said no, however, it might already handcuff me and take me away. I couldn't refuse. I could only accept in good grace. The inside had been cooled too much by the air conditioner. There was a rusty smell coming from the filter. Must have been cleaned only rarely. So too cold? I'll turn the car off. He turned off the engine and it suddenly became quiet.
and the voices of the cicadas with a cool loneliness snuck inside. It sounded to me like a chorus of voices lamenting my exorbitant punishment for having harbored such foolish curiosity. For a few moments while listening to those voices, I myself lamented. The day had been twisted and distorted ever since that night. Oishi, as if waiting for me to voluntarily begin talking, lit a cigarette and listened to the cicadas. The silence was deafening, and I was the one who folded. How's the investigation going? Oh, the investigation of... Oh, there's been so many, so you might as well be more specific. How about all of them? Well, alright. They're officially secret investigations, and we're under media blackout. Well, I'll let you in. Shall we start from the first? The freak death of Tomataki on the night of the festival. Oh, this one, embarrassing enough, we haven't made any progress at all. First of all, Tomataki? There are indications his body that he was assaulted by a group of people, but we have no explanation for him clawing out his own throat and dying. We suspect an overdose from a stimulant, but we didn't detect anything. The same fucking thing as the prior story arc. And Takano? We're in the dark. Autopsies for those who are burned to death are real tough. We believe she was doused in gasoline after she strangled. That one falls under the Gifu Prefecture's police department. They haven't been very cooperative, even though it happened in our territory. But that's not really relevant, though. So the police didn't know anything other than the fact these victims died fucking inexplicably. Nonetheless, the times of the incidents occurred have been generally placed right after the festival ended. A bit uncertain in Takano's case, but likely the prospect is that she was murdered at about the same time as Tomataki and then dumped in the mountains in Gifu. So why would they bring a dead body all the way to the mountains? They should have just brought Tomataki out there. My bar, you're quite sharp, you know that? Of course, I do believe that's something we need to be attentive of. There are a bunch of other suspicious things, but it's about all I can tell you at this point. And the mayor? Had there been any clues? Having exhausted that topic, I changed the subject. Otherwise, it might go towards me. We've investigated his movements on the day he disappeared. We didn't find anything that could provide any clues, but I'll tell you about it anyway. The mayor, Kichiru Kimiyoshi. Apparently, he was suffering from severe hemorrhoids. People who live a long time have an unusually amount of pride, so the mayor hasn't been telling anyone he was going to a proctologist at a certain university hospital over at Shishibone. On the day he disappeared, he had an appointment for a checkup, so he went first thing in the morning. Even I knew that big hospitals like university hospitals have a really long waiting time. Apparently people would get in line for hours beforehand, even if they have an appointment. Exam ended at 1 p.m., and after that he ate a light meal in a hospital restaurant and passed the time reading a magazine. We know this because of the receipt we found in his wallet at his house. Nothing suspicious about that. Today he had planned to go to a meeting at the assembly hall in the evening. He was supposed to return home with plenty of time to spare, but while he was on the train came back, there was an accident. It seemed to delay him a bit, and he only got back to his house right before the meeting was scheduled. Family witnessed a very hectic mayor going to the hospital, leaving to go to the assembly hall at the shrine. And the meeting? He disappeared on his way back home, right? What was the meeting about? The three families and the essential members of the town assembly were at that meeting. We think they were discussing how to deal with the serial freak death incidents that happened again. So then on his way home, the old man who treated Shion like his own daughter, a dependable person who would encourage Shion whenever she felt pressured by anxiety, and yet Shion's painful voice struck me right in the heart.
What's the matter? I was taken aback by how strange my own voice sounded. Or was that just surprising me? I squeezed my head with my hands to try and drag back out what I had just realized for a split second. Remember, you just realized something. Something important. The night of the festival, when everything started, that night, those two died. The next morning, word of the incident spread throughout the town. They planned to talk about it during the evening meeting. The mayor had an appointment at the hospital and went there without telling his family. He got a checkup at a hospital. He ate something. And then there was an unexpected delay on his train ride back. When he returned, the meeting was already about to start. The mayor changed clothes, got on his bike, and hurried to the assembly hall of the shrine as fast as he could. From when he heard about the incident on the night of the festival until he showed up at the assembly hall, everything he was doing all day was done in secret. During that time, nobody found out that he went to the hospital alone. He ate alone. And he got on the train alone. That all meant he had absolutely no contact with anyone else. You couldn't even have called him on the phone. But what does that mean, Keiichi? Why does that matter? I told him everything. I told old man Kimiyoshi everything. That's what she said. So then, what does all that mean? This means I shouldn't be playing dumb. When did she tell him? Shion says she learned of the incident from a phone call her father had made that morning. The mayor had left the house first thing in the morning for his appointment at the hospital. He didn't tell anybody where he was going. Nobody knew about him going to a university hospital. And his train ride back to the house was delayed by an accident. As soon as he got home, he rushed to the assembly hall. The meeting at the assembly hall began and continued until it was dark, and everyone left. Nobody saw him after that. He just disappeared. Which means... Ayabara, are you alright? If you're too hot, let me turn on the air conditioner. I thought the part with me was messing with my thoughts, demanding that I might not think any more further than that. My head was pounding violently, and the fluids packed inside it all blended together until nothing made sense. It was just about to settle, yet it had been smashed and melted in a blink of an eye, no longer able to retain its shape. Maibara. Arthur Maibara. Yeah? He lit another cigarette. There was yet another cigarette butt placed in the ashtray. Was it displaying the passage of time? Had my thoughts been frozen over for that long? I tried to tell you everything I know. In return, feel free to tell me anything you want. My mind had become a gigantic, oozing mess. My brain felt like it had been totally minced by the blades of a blender, and I just can't think. Don't clam up again. If there have been any misunderstandings, I'd like to clear them up. I don't think you're the culprit here or anything. He gave his best attempt to an all-adult smile. I know the four of you stung into the original storehouse that night.
Everyone in the village heard rumors about it the next day. That in of itself means we should take you in for trespassing. But this isn't the problem. It's what was inside. What was inside that made people who snuck in there end up as sacrifices? There wasn't anything. As soon as I said it, I regret confirming my presence there, but I knew it didn't matter anymore. Really? I mean, everyone who went in there was being sacrificed one by one, you know. Even the mayor and Rika, who switched the lock on the door, were sacrificed. So what could be inside that could have caused such terrible things to happen? I was far too tired of keeping quiet about this. Perhaps this was his goal all along, but that didn't matter anymore. Okay, there were just a lot of torture devices that were used a long time ago. I looked at them with everyone. Was that really all? That's it. Nothing terrible in there that would have made you keep silent? Like a pile of psychoactive drugs? A secret poppy workshop? Or mountains of Soviet or Chinese handguns? Nothing suspicious, like wooden boxes or containers? Nothing as exaggerated as to what Oishi was hoping for. But I felt like in a way there were plenty of terrible things hiding in there. From the perspective of someone who viewed the storehouse as sacred, whether or not I thought I had seen some crazy things didn't matter in the slightest. The four of us broke a taboo. So punish us already! That should have been what has been happening for a start! We put in for a request search warrant, thinking there might have been some secrets hidden in that storehouse. It's been the sabotage of the century. They said it would be an insult to religious figures. Something about the right of free religion in the Constitution. Jeez, that's what I really didn't have any other recourse but to ask you since you went there. There really was just old, rusty, dusty torture equipment. Nothing else that stood out. And Tomataki and Takano were only killed as punishment for breaking the taboo. I didn't have an answer for the only part. I suppose I won't be bothered to hide it anymore. You're the only one to escape harm so far. Everyone but you have disappeared, and yet you alone are safe and sound. What's the difference between you and them that will protect you, but bring harm to the others? That's what I want to know. Something wrong with what Oishi was saying. You alone? Wait a second. What do you mean by you alone? I'm saying, you alone have been left alive, right? Out of the 4 people who tiptoed into the storehouse for ritual implements, I mean. The only one left alive? Wait a minute! Shion! Shiro Tomataki and Mio Takano died that night. Shion Sonosaki disappeared this next day. Only you are still safe and sound at this point. Why only you? I'm saying this what I want to know. Wait! Hold the fuck up! Shion disappeared? That don't make sense. I unintentionally raised my voice, but I didn't care anymore. Tomataki died, and Takano died, and Shion disappeared? When? What are you talking about? I thought you were long since aware of this. This is the first I've heard of it. Shion disappeared when? Going it back, she disappeared the day after the festival. Wait, stop saying stuff I don't understand. She spends the night at relatives' houses depending on their mood on any given day, so no one thought much of not knowing where she was. She frequently takes days off from school too. Her teacher has been pretty troubled by it. I didn't ask about any of that. I'm asking when she disappeared. I told you the day after the festival. The fluids in my body reversed direction. I lost my sense of balance and everything I could see started to warp and twist out of shape. I simply couldn't endure it. So wait a fucking moment. She had disappeared already? But that night, the phone calls, who were they? She called me every night. She encouraged me. We vowed we'd do our best to live on and not be erased.
There should have been a phone call with Shion. There should have been.
She took breaks from class like it was nothing. Her family wouldn't listen when I told them, so I didn't bother calling to school. So it ended up taking quite a while before I realized that she disappeared. I felt a stabbing pain like needles were being pushed into every pore of my body. It started on my back and spread throughout the rest. When it had completely covered the surface of my skin, it began to worm its way inside my stomach as well. Don't you remember we talked at the library the day after the festival? Shion was there then. That was the last we saw of her. No one knows where she'd been.
It can't be. He only called me and Shion bounded away, lying that she needed to go to work. Didn't she call me that night?
Her job was at a restaurant called Angel, right?
She hasn't been there since that day.
She's been completely absent. The person at the restaurant couldn't get in touch with her. He was really worried.
Well, that can't be.
Only circumstantial evidence. But after she left us at the library, but before she made it to work, I think it's appropriate to consider her having disappeared.
But after she ran away without me?
Things you didn't know. Maybe if you had said something earlier, this would have gone much more quickly. Now you understand, don't you? The only one left. You're the only survivor of the 4 who slipped into the ritual storehouse.
It couldn't be. Just couldn't.
If something else happens, it would happen to you. I need you to understand that, Maibara.
It just can't be. It just can't. How could she have disappeared? It just couldn't. I talked to her the day before. I talked to her last night. She was going to call me again today. It was Shion on the phone. It's got to be her. It was from her.
She long since disappeared, and it will be you next.
Then, I'm afraid I have no other way to mention this, but who was phone? Who was phone these past few nights? Who was phone these past few fucking nights? It can't fucking be! I lay there on the couch, stayed there, dazed. My mind was blank. I couldn't think about anything for more than a few seconds. There was a note in my house saying Mom and Dad will be home late. I should have some ramen or something for dinner. I could make it whenever I go hungry, but I have no appetite. So I just stared blankly at the ceiling without eating anything. The hands on the clock were pointing at 10. Would I get another phone call like last night? Even though Shion had already disappeared, would she still call me? Where were they calling from? Who were they? The more I thought about it, the more I started to tremble. Even though just about disconnecting the phone line. I even thought about just disconnecting the phone line. If I'd been thinking a little less logically, I would have done it too. I guess I gotta hold on. I wish she admitted it. Shion went missing. Couldn't she have just gone to relatives that Oishi didn't know about? Probably been there ever since? We were both being targeted by somebody. It wouldn't be strange to think that she went somewhere usually didn't in order to hide. It must have been why Oishi couldn't locate her and why he labeled her a disappearance. Gotta be it. She didn't disappear completely. Then my right hand moved of its own volition and slapped myself. Its cold sting let me calm down a bit. Don't just convince yourself of the most convenient possibility. I knew I don't want to admit it. Admitting it would mean something terrifying was gonna happen.
I just need to figure out whether Shion was the one on the phone or not. Would I ask her if she actually was? Seemed like an incredibly absurd thing to do. Still, don't run from this. If the person on the other end still believed that I thought she was Shion, then that get... Oh God. Excuse me. That would give me a tiny advantage. I mean casually. Completely casually, I'll listen to what she has to say, and I'll fend her off. I would tear the skin off the monster. It would definitely be real scary for me. But as the last survivor of the people who went into the storehouse that night, this was my duty to perform. So who would call me and pretend to be Shion? I may have only heard her over the phone, but her voice shouldn't be that easily to replicate. It was definitely her voice. It sounded just like her. It couldn't have only been Shion. There was someone, though, wasn't there, who could sound just like her. Mion. Who else could do this? At this point, seriously, after all this time, all those little things that didn't quite make sense about Mion until now overwhelmed my mind, like being questioned about sneaking into the ritual storehouse and how she shook the ladder while she was spouting curses. Who else would have? Who else could have? Why, though? Why would she? I thought back to the things about the Sonozaki family that I heard from Oishi and Shion. Mion was always entangled in these incidents, a position where she was omnipotent. Some of the information included things that Shion told me after she disappeared. I was madly scratching my head. Come on. Somebody give me the courage, give me the strength, just a little bit to pick up the phone. I know it will ring. It'd be so easy to run away. Then it would be the same as making it easy for them to erase me. I can't run. I gotta stand up and face it. After all, the next sacrifice must definitely be me. I was sure Shion would try to use tricky words to try and trap me. So I gotta be careful. I just gotta be careful. Even though I'm fucking scared out of my fucking mind. I really don't want to fucking do this. Jesus! I didn't know where the call was coming from. She's gone. She's gone. She disappeared the night after the fucking festival. Yet until the day, she had been calling me like nothing happened. Now again tonight, the people that disappeared, their corpses simply haven't been found. I really didn't think they were alive. So if it really was Shion on the other end, did that mean she was calling me from another world? Of course, that couldn't be. A living being was calling me, pretending to be Shion. Shion was long gone, and yet as though she was alive and well. The phone continued its incessant ringing. I don't want to pick it up, if I don't have to. I thought doing so wouldn't solve anything, though. What would I do when I answer it? Would I immediately declare she wasn't Shion and ask who she was? Alternatively, would I pretend I was still fooled and try to grab her by the tail? That'd probably be the safest thing to do. What could I be afraid of? What I'm most afraid of was the person on the phone would do something when she realized I knew that she wasn't Shion. But as long as I continued to let her think I was fooled, she wouldn't do anything, out of the blue, right? If I just make sure to be careful, it should be the safest option. I made up my mind. I'll answer the phone, and once I do that, I'll talk to her as if nothing happened. That wasn't all I'll do this time. I'll just scope her out. Who was she? What is she thinking? What was she after? Why is she doing this? Was she really the one who killed Tomataki and Takano? What happened to the mayor? What happened to Rika? What happened to Sadako? I reached out for the receiver, my arm trembling. Too many things I wanted to know. Too many things I wanted to ask. I was scared. I should start by picking up the phone. Just pick it up. Hello? Oh, how relieved I would be if it hadn't been a call from Shion. Kei-chan, it's me.
It's Shion. My momentary convenience and above all fleeting prediction was ripped into 1,000 pieces. I couldn't help but shake. Get ready. You took a long time to pick up. I thought you were at home and I was about to hang up. Sorry, I was just in the bath. Did your family not pick up? Could your parents be out? I failed. I let her in on a fatal piece of information that I was currently the only one in my house. They're not really... Well, hold on, have you heard about Rika? No, what happened? Were they found? Nope. Not found. Don't lose hope. What are you talking about? If Onishi hadn't let me know, I might have allowed myself to shed a tear or two at those considerate words. Instead it come to this, I just couldn't take her words at face value. The person on the other end of the receiver, the more perfect the Shion they were, the more my blood curdled in fear. Rika and Satoko, they were kidnapped, weren't they? Yeah, I don't think there is much doubt. Just how cruel and grave a meaning did those words hold. Their weight astonished me, and then a moment later I would overcome with numbness and feel like I would pass out. I had asked if they'd been kidnapped. She in turn answered there wasn't much doubt. That cruel meaning behind her words. I'm sorry. About the mayor. What did you think happened after he was kidnapped? You think he's still alive? What happened to those after they were kidnapped? That's what I wanted to ask, but I just caught myself. What if she had given that question a terrifying response in such a way that sounded like nothing to do with her? I was scared of that, so I immediately brought up the mayor. That said, however much I talked about the mayor, I think he was killed. Wait a minute. That was awfully quick. I think it must be really hard to kidnap someone and keep them like they are. As long as they're not hostages, it'll probably be more practical to kill them once you're done with them. Oh God. Please stop spinning, world. It's starting to spin again. I frantically had to put a hand on the wall to support myself. A moment later, severe nausea. How is she saying such things so lightly? Kill them? So readily? I mean, what's a human life or two anyway? A horrible thing, but I think that's probably what happened. If the mayor was killed, the same thing might have happened to those two. It couldn't. They weren't some random old man. It was Rika. It was Sadako. They shouldn't have killed them. It's probably better to think that those two ended up the same way. Oh my God. Those were the words I wanted to hear the least, and I brought them back with a scream of my own. Even though it wouldn't change anything, I still couldn't help but fucking scream. The tears flowed. I've been confronted with the most horrific outcome. I've been trying to avoid considering since last night, and I fucking cried. There's no longer any doubt. It was my fault. I killed them. I killed those two. I succumbed to the weakness of my own heart, and I confessed everything to that poor little Rika. That's why they were killed. That meant I killed them. When Rika looked at me with those innocent eyes, if only I hadn't given in. Even my voice gave out, and yet I still cried. And cried. Kei-chan, just try and calm down. What the fuck are you talking about, you fucking poser? Those two were dead. Nobody could find their remains.
I'd never be allowed to even apologize to their faces if I could. This will be my punishment, and how brutal it is. I think she's trying to comfort me, but I can't hear it. What are you going to gain? I do think I'm targeting you next. Please, I'm asking you to get a hold of yourself, please. She was shouting, imploring me with a voice that sounded like tears were in her eyes as well. And I was coming to hate the sound of that voice more. This Shion impersonator killed him. I have no doubts this person killed him. Why? Why would they kidnap someone and just kill them? For the curses! Are people's lives that cheap? I mean, embracing them and killing them without a second thought? Right. You're absolutely right. It would only take a demon. I feel like crushing the receiver in my head. How long could this person plan on acting like it was someone else's fucking problem? There was magma in the pit of my stomach, and it felt like it was going to erupt at any moment. So is she on? So tell me, why did this town start someone to die on the night of a festival? Fighting over the damn project was done with. Over. People already been cursed. Why? If there was a reason, I would love to fucking hear it. I was incoherent at this point. My emotions had broke through the dam inside me, rushing forth, and I just couldn't stop. These were not simple questions. I turned it into an interrogation by phone. She not herself realized it yet. It was probably just too funny. So funny that I just couldn't stop crying. I feel I really do. The dam was ended a long time ago, yet murders and disappearances keep happening every year under the guise of a curse. So why? Why is it happening? Some of them had nothing to do with this. Some of them didn't deserve it. Why? That's what I'm asking you, you dumb fucking bimbo. I want to know that as much as anyone. Both our ragged breaths could be heard over the phone. How fucking comedic. Listen, it never existed. It's too unrealistic. Like you said, someone's in the village is using the grand name of Warrior Shirazawa's curse as a justification for continuing these goddamn murders and disappearances. I gotta admit, they were cunning, using this sort of curse as a convenient little tool, making a system where they would get rid of 2 enemies in the village every year. This year, that system killed 2 people we knew. And why wasn't that enough? Why did Mayor Enrique and Sako end up getting killed too? You know what? I don't give 2 shits about the past. The only thing I care about is why those 2 needed to be killed. Rika and Sadako. Why is that? I didn't say a word about Sadako. Why even her? Fucking why? A silence fell between us. She didn't answer for a while. Hey, John, please. Stop being mean. It's a sob. Oh, now she cries. I don't have any idea what's going on either. Everything changed when we went to the ritual storehouse that night. The same fucking thing for me. You were there. But as I listened to Shion's bitter weeping, I just feel my agitation subsiding. When I heard that Takano Tomataki had been killed, I doubted my ears. I realized it instantly. I realized what sort of position I was in now. The 4 of us snuck in there. Kei-chan, you and I wouldn't be so conveniently forgotten. Or forgiven. When I thought about that, it made my chest so tight. It was so terrifying. I mean, you know that feeling, don't you?
even understood how I felt. This is why I confessed everything to Ome Kimiyoshi. All of us entered a forbidden storehouse. It was just a little bit of fun. We knew we shouldn't have done that, but it really had just been for fun. It was only a bit of exploration. Takano and Toмотaki, who went in with us, they were killed shortly afterwards. They met such miserable ends. Since that day, I've been living in fear when I would be attacked. There's nobody except Ome Kimiyoshi who would help me. So I asked him to save me. Old man Kimiyoshi wasn't mad. He smiled and said, "If you're really sorry, Shion, you'll never be deemed away." He really did smile at me and told me to leave it at him. She cried bitterly, recalling the beloved mayor's death. A sad voice that none who heard it could prevent it from twisting their hearts. I did let my emotions take over. Did I go off at her? She was in the same situation as me. Could have been my one and only comrade. My heart bounded. My other self, deep within my mind, whispered to me, Don't forget about the mayor on the morning after the festival. He was told of Takano and Tomotaki's deaths over the phone and committed to a meeting that evening. He went to a hospital appointment. Nobody told his family. He only made it back just in time for the meeting. Went straight to the assembly hall. That's what Oishi said. When did you let the mayor know? Huh? Sorry, Shion. It must seem like I'm kicking you while you're down. But you told him. You told old man Kimiyoshi, the mayor. Yeah? When did you let him know? What? I got scared of saying it aloud after hearing that sad voice. I wasn't going to say it was contradictory. Besides, if there was a contradiction, then I want her to explain it. Did you know a mayor had a severe case of hemorrhoids and had gone to the hospital for treatment? Kei-chan? What does it have to do? Just answer me. If you don't know, then just say so. A momentary silence. And after stammering a few times, she replied, I knew that. He had hemorrhoids. Looked like sitting down was really hard. He was going to that hospital. Which hospital? You know which one, right? I don't know that much. Kei-chan, what does that have to do with this? She didn't know what hospital the mayor went to. It was impossible for her to have gone all the way to the hospital to confess everything. She didn't know his destination. She obviously couldn't have seen him on the train either. If there was any other chance, it would have been after he came to Hinamizawa. The train had been delayed and he only got back before the meeting was about to start. He didn't have time. It would have been enough time for him to listen to Shion spill the beans. Just let me ask you straight. Shion, when did you tell the mayor? When and where? Your answer doesn't have to be precise, but I would like to have one. Why are you asking me that? Her sob pierced into my ears. I was taken by the illusion that I might have been fooling her. Even so, I'll just say it. If I'm wrong, then correct me. So prove to me that you're the real one. It was impossible. The day the mayor disappeared. From dawn until he vanished. There was no opportunity for you to contact him. The mayor left first thing in the morning for his examination at University Hospital all by himself, without telling everyone. He just said he didn't know what hospital he went to. You couldn't have gotten a hold of him until he got back. Is that right? His train back was delayed by an accident. He didn't return to his house until the meeting was about to start. There couldn't have been any time for you to have told him before the meeting.
I heard her repeating her weak sobs. That sort of feminine voice automatically ripped into my heart. Just painful to me to say it. Did you go to the meeting too? Did you attend it and told them there? If you didn't, there wouldn't have been any time left. After the meeting was over, the mayor disappeared on his way home. She got to have went to the meeting. Did she or didn't she? The question was simple to answer, but there was no immediate response. Actually, with the meeting, you didn't even go to that part-time job you said you went to. So let's go more directly. You haven't been seen since we were at the library together. Kei-chan, Shion Sonozaki. You disappeared the day after the festival. It felt silent as the grave. So quiet, it was like the phone cord had been cut. I couldn't sense anyone there. Oishi says you've been missing. Despite that, you've been calling me every night like this. Her sobs were torturing me. I'm pretty sure I haven't said anything wrong. So Shion, if something I said was wrong, please say so. I'm begging you. There's no way you could have seen the mayor. But if you did see him, if Shion ever did have the chance to meet with the mayor on that day, then you probably saw him after the meeting. In other words, it could have only been right before he disappeared or sometime afterward. There went the dial tone. I stood there dazed for a while until I realized she hung up on me. The scrapbook and the Su Mahjong par. The problem with twins is not limited to just Hinamizawa, but in only Kabuchi Village. The three families detested to give birth to twins as successors. The long-term dictatorship built on a precarious balance of the three families that must have feared collapsing under the weight of internal strife from things like family quarrels. According to the literature, if twins were born, they had to be culled. With that, the very fact that both the Sonozaki family successor Mion and the twin Shion are alive in and of itself deeply interesting. Perhaps the current leader was sympathetic? Of course, the twins were not cared for equally, as the heir, Rion, received special treatment. But when I heard despite the two of them look exactly the same on the outside, the talent lies solely within Mion. My own observations of the two of them didn't leave me without impression. Tradition dictates that the leader of the Sonosaki family is said to inherit a demon, the tattoo of a magnificent one onto his or her back. In accordance with the tradition, there is extremely high possibility Mion will have such a tattoo. From what I've heard, there is apparently a magnificent demon tattooed on Oryu's back. I would wonder what sort of tattoo belongs to the heir. I really want to see that back. The Suzu Mahjong Parlor. I really don't want to read anymore. Not for this recording. I guess I've read through all the tips now. Or looked at them.
Are you gonna be okay?
I'm a traitorous clod! Traitorous clod!
No!